Welcome to all who have stumbled upon this video. Call me Kane, and for over a year now, my sister Rose and I have been building and writing the world of HVX, or Hero Villain Comics. It's a passion project that takes inspiration from the likes of DC, Marvel, and even Image, while still staying as its own unique take on superhumans. In this video, which I hope to make a series of videos, I will be presenting my sister's drawings and my writing of this world to all of you. I also want you to know that I am open to any feedback, fan art, or even some help in further developing HVX. If you really want to help with this project, please send a friend request to Danimal Magnetism on Discord. All lowercase, no space, like Animal Magnetism, but with a D. Then again, you can always just leave a comment down below. I'll read through them, I swear. When night falls, many a villain can be up to no good. This was the case one night in the Big Apple, superpower capital of the world. The usual car horns and flashing lights were present, as well as a villainous heist to steal a beloved item. 3 dynamically colored thieves, known as the Receptor Trio, expertly carved a hole into the concrete-clad roof of the Big Apple Art Gallery. The one wearing green, known as Meccano, grabbed a remote and commanded his drone to quietly lift up a small sculpture. This sculpture, dedicated to a fairy tale of sorts, depicts a woman with no facial features wearing a silken radiant dress. Grabbing it, the one called Photo's yellow visor glinted mischievously. Meccano, we've done it. Done what? Rang a strong voice. Landed yourself a one-way ticket to prison? A red-clad superheroine grinned at her own quip as the other heroes accompanying her cringed. Thought I smelled a rat, grimaced Chemo, grasping the hands of his blaster. Rabbit, the red heroine answered, bowing into a fighting position. Red Rabbit. We don't have time for this, growled Photo. Get in the car and let's move. Before the trio could initiate whatever their plan of escape was, they felt themselves getting lifted ever so slightly off the ground. All 3 struggled and squirmed, but their attempts of escape only made them more airborne. The muscular light blue hero held a stern expression as his arm remained extended towards the Receptor Trio. By changing the gravitational field around the crooks, he kept them right where he wanted them. Nice work, Gravity Man, cheered Red Rabbit. Now, Thunder Woman, zap 'em! Energetically, Thunder Woman lifted both of her hands in the air and zapped all 3 thieves at once with a sudden bolt of lightning. As soon as the lightning hit them, Gravity Man's powers canceled out. Thunder Woman could hardly keep from smiling as Photo, Chemo, and Meccano fell to the ground, almost certainly defeated. The stench of the smoke now covering their costumes filled the air. Hey, began Meccano, looking at his colleagues, then looking at the unharmed heroes. I think we should call this off. Nuh-uh, Chemo said flatly, struggling to stand up. He finally did, and helped Photo up while he was at it. This game ain't over yet. Chemo quickly wiped the smoke off of his costume and clasped the handle of his blaster once again. This time, he pointed it directly at Red Rabbit. At least, not until we win. A purple burst of light ejected from Chemo's blaster. Red Rabbit hopped closer to it before diving expertly into a handstand and kicking the launch away with her large metallic boots. Chemo growled as he began to shoot more, but Red Rabbit kept dodging and kicking away at the shots. Shoot her! Shoot her! Shouted Photo, exhausted from the dilly-dallying. It's not like she's hard to see in the dark. She's redder than a sunburn! Chemo tightened his hold on his blaster before it got violently forced out of his hands. The long ears on Red Rabbit's mask stretched forward and jerked the pistol right out of his grasp. Red Rabbit grabbed it and tossed it aside, winking at the weaponless thief. Chemo failed to say anything out of outright shock. Photo and Meccano finally made use of themselves and grabbed their own blasters, beginning to shoot more blasts of light at Red Rabbit. Before they could, however, Thunder Woman flicked her fingers forward to release more gentle bursts of lightning than before, still enough to completely cancel out the blasters. Gravity Man tightened his fist into a ball, causing Photo and Meccano to fall violently to the floor. The gravitational field around the blasters became so strong they became much too heavy for them to lift. While all three were on the floor, Red Rabbit bounded over and handcuffed them. "Gravity Man, please call the cops," she said triumphantly. "We've got them a nice surprise tonight." Indeed, the Big Apple is simply unsafe without its heroes. The Receptor Trio are little more than a hero's punching bags compared to a seriously dangerous villain, and even without powers, Red Rabbit is ready for action. Jackie Jones is a 29-year-old woman from Greene County, a small rural community located just west of the Big Apple. She spent her childhood playing and doing chores on her family's farm, being especially good at chasing away rats and rabbits who would attempt to snatch crops. When she was just 12, Jackie had a mysterious and unforgettable dream about a red-colored rabbit telling her to do good for the world. The dream seemed random, but it was extremely vivid. When she told her dad, Joseph, about it, he revealed to her that this dream is what started the superhero identity known as the Red Rabbit. Ever since Jackie's great-grandmother had the dream, the mantle has been passed down from generation to generation, depending on whoever in the family would have the dream next. Joseph, however, was not keen on ever bringing back the Red Rabbit. After all, when he was the Red Rabbit, he put himself and his family in danger almost every day of his life, albeit unintentionally. Just months after meeting his wife, Joseph retired early and never spoke of Red Rabbit to anyone. That is, until Jackie's dream brought the memory back to him. Wanting to keep his family safe, Joseph swore Jackie into secrecy. He wanted her to forget that she ever had the dream. She was not allowed to tell her little sister, she was not allowed to tell her big brother, she wasn't even allowed to tell her mother. Jackie agreed to this life of secrecy, but ended up feeling much more confident about herself ever since she found out about her superhero destiny. She began playing the role of a hero in school, picking fights with the most well-known bullies, saving the innocent. She once picked a fight with Barbara Bailey, the biggest and meanest girl in the school, and ended up knocking her out cold. Even back then, Jackie's kick-headbutt combo never failed her. After hearing the news, Jackie's mother was impressed, but her father was furious. He recognized instantly that this was Red Rabbit behavior, as he called it. As punishment, he had her manually water every single stalk of wheat in the field. Jackie was up late for days watering the wheat, cursing her dad under her breath. He was the Red Rabbit, for God's sake. He should understand. One late night, Jackie heard noises coming from the wheat stalks. She snuck up on the presumed creature, only to find 3 troublemaking neighborhood boys swiping wheat as part of their game. Jackie jumped out of them with a flashlight and scared the living daylights out of them. The first 2 boys ran away, but the third one, named Sawyer, stayed. He was captivated by how much she acted like a grown-up, and outright told her that he thought she was beautiful. She screamed and yelled at him about how, "You can't just go round and say stuff like that!" The boy apologized and decided that he would tell Jackie's parents that he alone stole the wheat as a way of apologizing. Jackie suddenly adored this boy with such manners, and the 2 became friends. Then best friends. All throughout high school. When Sawyer and Jackie were both 18, they planned on getting married someday. Jackie, however, had an extra plan up her sleeve. If she hadn't been all heroic with trying to defend her wheat field, she probably wouldn't have even met Sawyer. Convinced that being a hero would only lead to good opportunities coming her way, she took a road trip alone to the Big Apple. Jackie told her parents that She was going to check out colleges, but she actually went to find a costume designer. She ended up registering an appointment with the Couturier, a well-known designer of superhero costumes, who made her exactly what she wanted: a sleeker, more agile version of the Red Rabbit costume her dad once wore. Jackie had fought crime ever since. Her dad found out pretty fast and still swears that Jackie keeps her identity a secret. After having a losing streak in some of her battles against crime, Jackie started working with Gravity Man and Thunder Woman, two more powerful heroes who rose up and fought for good during these times of no heroes. Now, she and Sawyer are 29 years old and have 6 kids. Both Jackie and Sawyer's parents moved in with them, in the exact same house Jackie grew up in. Jackie is still the Red Rabbit, mascot of the Protectors of the Big Apple, but also, she's one of the best moms ever. She's even hired a nanny, Miss Velma Wafer, to help care for their kids when the days get busy. She keeps her identity a secret by saying that she works as a fitness instructor in the Big Apple, when she really spends the day foiling crime. Jackie is known for being both bubbly and motivating. Now, how about we switch gears to talk about Gravity Man? Elijah Graves is a 32-year-old man who never stops pushing himself. He spent his entire life telling himself that he would make a difference. After babysitting his 2 little sisters when he was 16, he wanted to do something to help young kids. He moved to the Big Apple from the Bronx for a better college education, eventually graduating from Big Apple University, majoring in creative writing. However, Elijah's self-published children's books remained unmemorable and unpopular. When asking Douglas Robinson, a friend from Big Apple University and fellow writer, what was wrong with his stories, he replied that Elijah's stories lacked the pace and action that children idolize. One day on his walk back home, Elijah came across a help wanted sign for stunt doubles, and he knew that this was an opportunity for some action. Also, the job offered a better opportunity for him to make friends. The truth was, even with his monthly meetings with Douglas, Elijah felt lonely and insignificant in the big city. Elijah spent 6 months at the gym, going above and beyond to build his body to its best performing capability. He auditioned and actually landed the part. The movie was a recreation of the Cold War, and Elijah found himself ducking and weaving through the set. The movie ended up being a success, and Elijah had a blast filming it. However, he felt empty inside once the production came to an end. Elijah spent lots of time auditioning and sometimes succeeding in being a stunt double for various other movies after that. All throughout his early 20s, Elijah worked as a stunt double and made many friends along the way. During his 5th performance, Elijah was stunt doubling in a Megapix production, one of the most popular movie makers in America. This movie in particular was a funny but wildly action-packed movie called Crazy Exploding Crap 2. Elijah will never forget this movie, as something happened during filming that ended up changing his life. A freak accident occurred. One of the main support beams of the studio was destroyed by one of the fake explosions needed for the movie. Before any of the actors or stunt doubles knew what was going on, the entire studio began to cave in. Everyone started frantically running around as more and more debris started falling from the roof. Eventually, everyone crowded around the middle of the crumbling studio, closing their eyes and preparing for what was left of the roof to completely crush them. However, no such thing happened. The people began to look up slowly, only to see the large chunk of the roof that was about to hit them floating off the ground, as well as Elijah. Suddenly, the rest of the debris began floating into place, eventually reassembling themselves into a functional studio. This is the most power Elijah has ever generated. He has never been able to lift objects with that precision, let alone piece them back into place quite so well. Perhaps now he's holding back? All we know for sure is, during this moment, he wasn't. Everybody, the actors, the stunt doubles, the producers, were in absolute awe of Elijah's power. Elijah quickly ran out of the building in shock, found his way back home, and sat in silence for hours. What had just happened? Could he do it again? Quickly concentrating his mind, Elijah was able to slowly levitate his dresser. He became startled again, so he let go of his concentration. Elijah then FaceTimed his parents back at the Bronx, asking relentlessly about superpowers in his family's history. His parents did some research, only to find nothing. Elijah's powers were the first instance of powers in the entire Graves family. He knew not what to do, only that he had to use his powers for good. Now was no longer time to continue being just a stunt double. He had to be that and more. A superhero. He made an appointment with a couturier whose engineers designed him a metal-lined supersuit with a solitary spike pointing skyward. He was to call himself Gravity Man. Gravity Man is a strong-willed, compelling superhero who can create and alter his own gravitational fields. He can summon a square of altered gravity around a given distance, and have everything in that field float from lightness or be compressed by pressure. As for personality, he has yet to understand the fun side of being a hero, believing helping his people to be his own reward. That's why in many instances, Gravity Man can, ironically, ground the situation and stay focused, even in the most thrilling times. Don't be fooled, however. Elijah is one of the most kind-hearted and considerate people you will ever meet, with a flair for theater and cinematics. His day job as a stunt double prepared him for the danger and challenges that he faces as a superhero. Gravity Man is a strong believer of self-improvement. Once he realizes that loosening up during hero work is no bad thing, Gravity Man will be sure to work on that. During a fight with Mr. Mutation, a diabolical supervillain, Gravity Man met Red Rabbit, and the two discussed business. She was on a losing streak when it came to fighting crime alone, he needed some help, and the two formed a team. Now the third member of this team is known as Thunder Woman. Montclair's rainy days were a favorite for Leah Duvech, a feisty 27-year-old woman who always wants to have a good time. When Leah was only 6, her older sisters, 12 and 14, were asked to subtly teach her to be a little bit more confident. Sylvia and Agnes Duvech thought of no better way than to make Leah stand out in the storming rain with them, under an umbrella, of course. Leah was scared, but only agreed because her sisters seemed so sure of what they were doing. When the wind and thunder started brewing, Sylvia and Agnes began hastily running back inside. Leah, however, was overjoyed that she was outlasting her sisters in the storm. Rather courageously, she hopped out from under the umbrella and began singing very loudly in the rain in delight. This is how Leah found confidence throughout her childhood. She would ask her parents all the time if they knew when it was going to rain next. Every time the rain did come, Sylvia and Agnes would know to open the door and let Leah outside. Her parents, however, would pester Leah to at least put on a raincoat, but she'd refuse every single time. When she was 12, Leah ended up finding a strange shiny object glowing from the woods. Even through the thunderstorm she was singing in, the object glowed bright enough for her to keep track of. It looked like a crystal, but it seemed strangely metallic and artificial. She hopped the fence of her backyard and picked up the shard. All at once, Leah began feeling a tingling sensation throughout her body, a sudden boost of all of her senses, and then lightning struck. What was once a feeling of power and enlightenment turned into a shocking force that instantly knocked Leah unconscious. The shards, seemingly along with its effects, were instantly incinerated. The rain poured down harder and harder on her face, but she could feel it no longer. When she woke up, Leah prayed that time didn't go by as she was knocked out. Turns out she was only knocked out for 10 minutes. Leah flattened her now frizzy hair and ran back home, hoping nobody would notice what just happened. When she arrived, Leah's parents were waiting at the door, wanting an explanation as to why she hopped the fence. Leah lied and said she wanted to explore, and her parents couldn't stay too mad. However, they still warned her never to go around looking for trouble, as it can often lead to dangerous outcomes. Leah listened to their words of warning, but was mostly distracted with what just happened outside. 2 years later, when Leah was 14, a noise woke her up. A common robber was failing to be quiet as he snuck through the Duvech household, trying to find anything of value. Leah saw the whole thing and frantically ran upstairs to get her sisters. Sylvia and Agnes woke up and tiptoed downstairs. Unfortunately, these three can do absolutely nothing quietly and were almost instantly found. The robber pointed his pocket knife at them and whispered for them to quietly back against the wall. Terrified, the three obliged. Just when things looked like they were about to get ugly, Leah took a daring step forward and shouted, "Back off, stupid!" clasping her hands to prove her point. The clap, however, ended up sending the villain flying backwards with the velocity of a storm's gale. The crash when he hit the wall freaked out the burglar, and he ran away as fast as he could. It was then when the dog woke up and started barking. When their parents woke up to see what the ruckus was all about, the three sisters very awkwardly staged a fight between themselves to not scare their parents with the thought of a robber having been in their house. While not scared, their parents yelled bloody murder and practically pushed the three back upstairs and into their own rooms. When the heat finally died down, Leah grabbed Sylvia and they both tiptoed to Agnes's room to discuss what just happened. Leah recollected that moment with the shard 2 years before, and the three swore themselves up and down to secrecy. Some years later, when Leah's sisters officially moved out and Leah was 18, Leah graduated from high school and wondered what she was going to do with her life going forward. As she looked out into the rain and thought, Leah realized that she wanted to do something with the weather. She wanted to become a meteorologist, finally being able to know when it was going to rain next. She graduated from Big Apple University with a major in meteorology and is now working at the Big Apple Weather Forecast Office. When she first began working there, Leah found it hard to earn the respect of the more seasoned weather reporters. This is when Leah began to get really cheeky and used her powers to report on freak lightning all around town. It could be a normal sunny day and then suddenly freak lightning could hit you. Her weather channel quickly became popular with how amazing the freak lightning phenomenon was, until Leah overheard a scared little girl not wanting to come outside because of the freak lightning. Wanting to become a better example, she made an appointment with the couturier and was gifted with an aerodynamic supersuit with a large lightning bolt down the middle. She went on to become popular with just how powerful she was. She can shoot bolts of lightning and perform a knockback thunderclap whenever she wants. She even ended up being contacted by Red Rabbit and Gravity Man to become part of their new team. How could she refuse? Even if, after all this time, Leah still doesn't know what really happened that night with the shard. She thinks she got her storm-related powers from the lightning strike, and yet the shard itself also seemed to give her power. A power that perhaps she hasn't tapped into yet. And there you have it, the intro to the world of HVX. Really hope you enjoyed the video. If you wish to know more, please consider supporting this channel or reaching out to me on Discord so I can bring you more videos with more stories. There are still a ton of characters, locations, and battles that you haven't seen yet, and I would just love to show you. Thank you, and take care.